We're live. Good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad, and welcome to this 141st edition of Belizean Affairs. Sitting with me virtually as my co-host is Mr. Roody and my good cousin Mr. Leonard Brackett. With that said, we go to Mr. Brackett first for a prayer, as we normally do, followed by a reading that will be done by Mr. Weir. Mr. Brackett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Leonard Brackett. I'm one of the panelists on tonight's show. Uh, I'm tasked with doing a short prayer, and so I'll just bend, bow my head. Divine loving Father, we thank thee for this privilege to come before thy presence once more. Thou who art the creator of heaven and earth and all that in them are, into thy hands we commend ourselves and this program and our country of Belize, its people and its leadership, as well as this country of the United States, its people and its leadership. Please bless us, guide us, give us the strength and fortitude and the courage to be able to speak truth to power if need be, and give us the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that we may be able to impart to our fellow and brothers, Belizeans at home and abroad. Thank you very much, loving Father, for that multiple blessings. We pray that the must continue to guide us now and always for Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen.
Uh, Sharon is on, Greg.
Mr. Weir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll do my reading from Matthew chapter 12, 1 to 10.
Mr. Wade,
Yes.
1 second. Sharon, can you hear
Good
me?
night.
Good
Yes,
night.
I'm here now. Thanks.
Could
I'll
you-
put in a earphone so I can hear
Yes,
better.
but quickly, I was disturbing Mr. Wade just to try and get across to you. Can you please send that picture to Greg on your WhatsApp, to his WhatsApp?
Yes.
Is that possible?
Can Mr. Gregory confirm his number for me, because I was trying but I couldn't get through.
I got it right here. You just give it to me just now. Let me read it to you.
Okay.
501
Mm-hmm.
600
Yes.
0238. Am I right, Greg?
Okay. I will have it sent
Greg?
from 622-8023. Just let me get off and I'll send it from mine or that, okay?
Wait. Greg, was I correct with my numbers?
Yes, you
Greg,
were.
okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thanks. Because
So we
I
could
just
deal back
couldn't
to Mr.
locate
Wade,
it.
no?
So I'll
Sorry,
deal
Mr.
with
Wade.
that and come back on. Thanks.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
No problem.
Thank you, guys. I will
Sorry about
again
that, Mr. Wade.
from Matthew 12, 1 to 10 says, at that time Jesus went through the grain field on the Sabbath. His disciples were hungry, and they began to pluck heads of grains and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said to him, look, your disciples are doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath. He said to them, have you not read what David did when he was hungry? And those who were with him, how he entered the house of God and ate the bread and of the bread of the presence, which it was not lawful for him to eat, nor for those who were with him, but only for the priests. Or have you not read the law, how on the Sabbath the priest is in the temple, profane the Sabbath, and are guiltless?
Mhm.
I tell you, something greater than the temple is here. And if you had known what this means, I desire mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. He went on from there and entered their synagogue. And a man was there with a withered hand. And they asked him, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? So that they might accuse him, he said to them, which one of you who has a sheep, if it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will you not take hold of it and lift it out? Of how much more value is a man than a sheep? So it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. That's my reading
Amen.
from Matthew 10, chapter 12, 1 to 10. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that, Mr. Wade. With that said, I will go to our music. Ms. Fitz, I still have not received your WhatsApp.
How are your human rights protected? The European Convention on Human Rights includes freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, right to life, liberty, equality, family life, right to a fair trial, freedom of religion, property, privacy, slavery and human trafficking, torture and ill treatment. These rights are best protected in our own countries. But when
Good night, Ms. Fitz. I would like to
Good night.
welcome you again as our cohort and Belizean
Thank you very
affair.
much, gentlemen.
And as I said before, I have not received your picture, but during our show, I will see if I can make up with that for you. So at any time during the program, you can go ahead and do what is rightfully should be done.
Yes, sir. I tried sending it again just now. So I believe you have it. Hopefully you have it now, right?
I
Hello?
thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
I thank you. I will as soon as I receive it. If not,
Yes, sir.
as I said, I will try to make up. With that said, let's go to the first segment of our show. Good night to the people at home and abroad. And tonight's show, I want to base it on narrative. There's a lot that has been said in our country about past and present government. And also, there's a lot that has been said about things that has been happening within our country.
Can I
And
get back to you, or is it something
I
else?
want to let the people
Okay. If you want to go finish about
understand
the 1.5 or no,
the
don't
narrative
start about that time.
and what narrative has been
Okay, brother.
used
God bless. Love you. Take care.
by political parties to get across to Belizean people. Let me go to the first clip.
What should be important for us and for the church leaders and the union leaders is this is not to happen again.
Of course.
For it not to happen again, there has to be an investigation of what transpired.
Probably a commission
It
inquiry.
is not to be taken lightly that the former
Of course.
Prime Minister has gone on the public record to say
You never know.
that agreement did not go to cabinet.
Mhm.
That is not a matter to be taken lightly. So what we have is, it would appear, from whichever angle you look, that the minister who signed that did not have the authority to sign it. He signed it in secret. There was no press release for such a huge multi-million-dollar arrangement. The agreement in itself appears to be illegal. Nobody can wipe away that for 30 years you'll not pay stamp duty on any land transaction. You will not pay environmental tax. You will not pay import duty. For 30 years, the country of Belize will not get any benefit by that from the taxes. We live off of taxes. Our people, that is how they survive. Their food pantry, their political community money, legal, lawful expenditure for the police department, who could do it a raise for those poor police officers and our teachers and our nurses. We need betterment. Last time we were here, I think, I'm not sure if it had come up with how people have to sit down on the street side front of the statistical unit. My God, how could that ever happen? How you treat the public is the boss. If it ain't taxpayer, the government, how the government drive on in a $90,000 vehicle, everybody who there anybody have a going vehicle, and the public they sit down on street side where somebody have a problem with their vehicle and could knock them down. You're out there in the dust and the wind and the weather. That actually they happen for true. That really they happen like every day. People have to come from all over the districts, come sit down on the street side. We can't rent one room somewhere where people could just go in. I'm applying for my birth certificate to take the information to get a phone number. Okay, you need to pay $1.50 and we will call you when you're ready. We can't do that for people. That's how low we are in terms of the public service.
So taxes are important.
But that is the point we're making. So now, what you have, it is clear that something has gone terribly wrong, that a minister of government could think he's so fiercey to put his signature on a document like that. Yeah. What Prime Minister Barrow has said is how you could be heard to be saying that one legal thing, that one good document, how you could ever even consider that. You all realize the implications of that? Now, the other implication that ride with that, Renee and Troy, is that the leader of the opposition is 100% correct. One, he says, everything when my party do, criticize and find fault and say, good and, legal and, all this. Oh, all of a sudden, they said that about this agreement. We they say something wrong with it. That you know, say.
Yes.
That is the biggest punch of all.
That's stunning, eh?
Yes, that normally that now a knockdown punch when you get that in the ring.
Hard, cold facts, like it or not.
Hard, cold facts. Again, we are dealing with narratives. You heard what Mr. Bradley said. And to back him on that, I want to go now, before I go to my panelists, to the ex-foreign minister and listen to his wording, what he will say about narratives.
There is a lot of innuendo, there is a lot of slander, there is defamation that is about. The Senate needs to confine itself to the facts, to what has happened, seek the documents, seek the witnesses, and come and have a full hearing and then report. And should not fall victim to the fake news and to the alternative narrative that is being propagated by certain persons. There are a lot of people who have been deeply involved in this in the United Democratic Party and have all of a sudden attempted to cleanse themselves of the stench of the corruption associated with it. It's not that easy, and I prefer to wait for the inquiry to investigate and let us see where this leads.
Ben Jowatorwich misunderstood the assignment given to him by the government. What would the assignment have been to him? Would you know?
I don't know what you're talking
The
about.
Prime Minister said that just this weekend, I believe.
Question the Prime Minister about that.
Sir, but as the Minister of Immigration, is it concerning, given that I understand Mr. Jowatorwich is one of our representatives at The Hague, so is it concerning that the PM would say he misunderstood an assignment?
It is not concerning to me.
Now, to my panelists, would you believe that a foreign minister who is representing our country would not know anything about a legal document, especially one that has to do with an attorney that is representing our country? But yet he can say that he wants the Belizean people to stop follow the fake narrative. I will show tonight what narrative is said and how the Belizean people keep following it. But with that said, let me go to Mystic first. I go to you
Sorry?
first, Mystic.
To me? Oh, good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. Good night, fellow panelists.
Good
Night,
night.
Miss Fitz.
I have a view that one, it's interesting, Mr. Brackett, you characterize it as narratives, right? And then you hear the words we hear innuendo, fake news, slander, defamation, alternative narratives. So now it seems that there's a, and I would use this term, sometimes there's a kaleidoscope of confusion, right?
Deliberate.
You notice that whole thing, I think when we were in Scouts and Girl Guides, they teach you not to gossip because they start in a big circle and one thing is whispered in one ear, and by the time it gets around to the last one, it's something quite different. There are also other labels you could give: disinformation, misinformation, red or blue herrings, etc., etc. Sometimes between the noise, what one needs to do, pay attention to what is not being said. Sometimes that is where there's clarity. I don't know all, but it seems to me that you might be having some pointing of fingers and certain other things. And yes, we're in a world and country where nobody should be defamed or slandered or libeled. And you can't just rely on mischief gathering or mischief mongering or gossip mongers, and then people who are salacious and, you know, cry and put out bad news. And you have, you know, that old propaganda, the grapevine, when people would put out certain things. And Belize was a time when if that, we still say it, right? If they're not so that nail is soft, then this one would have said, I don't have blue shoes to go to court, right? Then if Creole said, I don't so that nail is soft, right? Or I get this, Shubo Brown would have said, I don't know, I get this one from some kind of source, but me don't know if that year is so, you know. That's how Shubo Brown used to cover and protect
Disclaimer.
himself. That's the old NIP way when you had the roasters on the rostrum and so on. But matters of public interest are open to fair comment and inquiry. And people of Belize have a right to know. It has to do with our country, our patrimony, our commonwealth, our resources, our people, and our dignity. Those who have responsibility should do their bossa nova, come clean and tell the people, Belize, then people tend to be, some people could swallow a lot, right? And Belizean people run into denial, and the next curveball we throw or side show, and pun intended, or music show, or dollar beer, dollar wine, dollar fest, whatever, give me thank you, mass gatherings, you know, whatever the opiate of the masses is for the time being, whether they are weeding out or having our people weeding out, our people tend to have short attention span. And it seems that we have a tolerance like the country that glut for punishment. I have been saying that Belize did not give up colonialism, imperial colonialism, for corporate colonialism. It seems to me that some people, you don't know where what start and one finish, right? Sometimes things make themselves, reveal itself for themselves, information, situations more clearly. So Belizeans have to keep their eye open, sleep with their one two eye, And you know what? We have intelligence that people can, when we say they're fool to talk, but they're not fool to listen. And we have to have
Thank you.
discernment
Thank
and
you, Ms.
wisdom.
Wade. Thank you, Ms. Wade. I will come back to you. I will go to you, Mr. Wade. Narratives that I'm speaking about are ones that I call political blunders, when a party is trying to point finger at another party. Here I'm speaking specifically about the definitive agreement. Did the present party try to table it using new legislation? Mr. Wade, what do you think about that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for that, information there to Ms. Spitz. Just hope that the listening public, could take away something from us here tonight. Um, these are nothing new. We have touched the same situation here in depth several times already over the past year. Based on what is presented there and for the public to see, I just hope that again they are listening, right? And again, open your eyes. The landed man there pointed out certain things of what's going on in the country, but he could have gone to a similar situation happens at the land department, immigration department. But anyway, the point is that as for me, I have said before that they all need to be in jail. For comes from Dean Barrow, who was the leader of this nation, the Contreras guy, and all the other guys, them who, especially that Contreras guy, who sign off assets, who sign off something that is not his. Whatever he had signed off belongs to the people and nation, right? Didn't go through the proper procedure, didn't inform the people. They're just at the same old crap hustling, right? Under the table thing. And you hear the man, Mr. Gegg, I'll go and I'll say a little bit more, right? That he throwing the contribution money and he know that UDP no may win. That's why he never give them crap, right? But you said something there, Ms. Spitz. Sometimes fool to talk, but they're not fool to listen, right? They're not all with a fool. Got that, what you call it, or what people call you, you're not smart enough, but at least, man, you know when something wrong and when you're right. Especially if you're a patriotic person, right? But as for me, I don't nobody, but I don't fool. Like I say, where these people should be at. And this is just a charade. This Senate, from the chairman go right down, have the assignment, right? You hear about the sweetheart deal. Here that what? The sweetheart deal that Contreras and Dean Barrow know about. Those two names that mentioned. But you will never hear about especially from this Mr. Courtney, about the sweetheart deal that his prime minister gave Puerto Rico, right? Man, I've always said Puerto Rico not deserve that sweetheart deal. Is the poor people who cannot even pay their taxes. That they should have get that sweetheart deal. The Senate should have come and say, you know what? Those who cannot pay their taxes, man, I will relieve at a burden. How much want 20,000 or 30,000 or 10,000 in taxes, I will relieve But look where he gone. As far as I'm concerned, they all need to be investigated, but not by these people who know their assignment. We need some independent who is not a lover of PUP or who are not a lover of a UDP, in a lover of country and people and right. Right? Right. And I'm talking about right and wrong. They are all wrong what they did.
Mm-hmm.
From the jackals in the UDP to the jackals in the PUP. Say no more, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you.
I have a lot more to say, but
Mr.
time
Wade.
is upon said. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Mr. Brackett, before I go to you, I want you to hear what is called narrative.
Wait, Mr. Chairman,
before I go to you,
wait, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
yes.
No pile up on me, man. A lot of things there right now where I want to go after from different angles with Mr. Courtney. But please, if you want to add another thing on top of that, I think I'll you older. I know young like before when I'm young, you know, I could keep it together, right? So I don't want to lose my thought and my trend. I would like to expand on the present pathway or just put out the just now.
Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To start with, let's contextualize, okay? I like talk about context, and context. Especially when we talk about narratives. Mr. Chairman, for example, the topic of the night, narratives. Okay, for context. When Mr. Courtney made that statement that you played the clip on, the video clip on a few minutes ago, when he was making that statement back a few months ago, he was still the unelected one with the super powers of the Senate, being the head of government business in the Senate as a specially selected senator. What I just said, nobody can dispute or argue against or say where to say wasn't so. So I say where to say because I want to put that along with other things that I'm about to say, and during the course of the night when the chairman give me another chance, because I can't say all the way I want to say right now. But when the chairman give me another chance, I want to add the rest of it. So remember, context. At the time Mr. Man made that statement, he was also the foreign minister. He was also the passport and legal documents minister.
Minister of Immigration.
Minister of Immigration. And quite a few other things more, as well as an advisor, a legal advisor, senior counselor, and top-notch constitutional mind, which is why that was one of the reasons why they brought him into the Senate, to make him a cabinet minister, to have him as one of the serious top-notch people in our country to go to bat on behalf of the government, which is why he became the leader of the Senate business, the leader of government business in the Senate. But he also wore another cap. Prior to that assignment, he had a different, during that assignment, and even up to now, he have a master that is Mr. Briceño, the leader of cabinet, okay? Prior to that position, he also had another master for whom he was working on massive cases against our country. At the time, he wasn't involved in government business. He was advocating on behalf of his another master, Mr. Ashcroft, who won many cases for hundreds of millions of dollars against we government and we the people of Belize as the government of the country. Okay? So he had been serving two masters. And the first master that he was serving, Mr. Ashcroft, was the one who lobbied on behalf of Mr. Courtney. Now, he could carry me in a court if he want, because he's a lawyer and he knows what to do and how to do it to get me in a court if he think that I'm lying or I'm defaming him or whatever I'm saying, not go like how I say it. While people out in public don't know, I know, he know. And you can't libel nobody with the truth. So that's for him to decide what he wants to do. But that not stop me from telling the truth and putting them business out on the street so the general public could know exactly what was happening behind the scene and still is ongoing. Mr. Ashcroft lobbied to have Mr. Courtney, who was a long-standing, highly regarded PUP operative, to be put into government service. And by virtue of that lobbying, the PUP as a party owed Mr. Ashcroft a lot of money and a lot of favors. The government owed Mr. Ashcroft a lot of money and a lot of favors as well. So coming in, after they won the election, coming into this new governance powers, they were on the hook to fulfill certain obligations to Mr. Ashcroft, both as government and as politicians. As soon as Mr. Ashcroft got his money that was owed to him by the government, as soon as the government of Belize, this present incarnation of the PUP, were able to haul up enough of the money and pass it on to Mr. Ashcroft to settle, like he said, like the Prime Minister said, all outstanding accounts. Remember that in the House? We got a deal. We got back our port, and we're settling all these previously outstanding accounts with Mr. Ashcroft for pennies on the dollar. And I told you then, and I'm telling you now, it was all a hocus pocus. We would not be getting rid of that man, and that man would still be in our business affairs, Belizean business affairs. And here we are today. Mr. Courtney pretended that he had left government business, but he's still working on behalf of the government. When he made that statement about the Senate investigation, he was very calculated in what he was stipulating, and for good reasons. Why? He understood his assignments. Remember, the key to this government that we have in place is about understanding each and every one of them, their assignments. Once they don't understand their assignments, then portfolio gets changed. Do you know why Mr.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
Make I wrap it up, sir. Do you know why Mr. Courtney decided to leave the government service at that level or at that point, not being part of cabinet, but still being offered cabinet privileges? Because the people in cabinet lost trust in him, because they believed that he was the person from cabinet that made those documents with Jerasowic's legal stuff to Mr. Ashcroft, with which Mr. Ashcroft was beating the government over its head with all those commercial ventures, doing all kind of commercial against the government over that period of time. Hundreds of commercials, tens of thousands of dollars worth. But at the end of the day, these people are playing a hijinks game on we local Belizean populace and country. And we need somehow or another to have some of these people go to jail, as Mr. Weird had said earlier. How we going to get there is another ball game. We cannot stand idle by and have these people rush out over us as a rogue group empowered with we governance power and doing us all manner of evil, because that's what they're actually doing, evil. I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman. I hope to get another chance to expound on more details.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. But narrative is used to win election. Narrative is used to get a government out of trouble. Narrative is used in many, many occasions and for many reasons. Let me go to a clip to express what narrative is all about, as in knowing one's assignment.
Another exception. So the convention is that we sign an oath of confidentiality of the cabinet. But we have been very clear about it. I've said over and over, we did nothing. The paper was made into cabinet and we rejected the definitive agreement. So there's nothing to be able to answer.
But it was presented to us the night before. I went through the night reviewing it. I had some major concerns with it, and I brought them to cabinet. Other members in cabinet then chimed in, and then it was led by the PM that said, no, we should put a hold on the document.
He's under attack in the media and there's an advertising campaign against them. Now the independent senators want to trigger a Senate Special Select Committee to investigate the definitive agreement and how it ended up in the PUP cabinet. This is not a good look, sir. 2.5 years in office. Can you comment?
Well, I think ultimately everyone in their right mind has rejected that definitive agreement. I think any warm-blooded Belizean would, and certainly our cabinet did just the same. We rejected that in its entirety, and the cabinet to every man and woman in the cabinet rejected that. So ultimately, that's the real.
Mr. Chairman.
No.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Brackett.
It was not every man and woman in cabinet that rejected that document, as Mr. Hyde overstated just now, or conflated just now. A majority end up rejecting it, which is why it couldn't carry the day. But it wasn't all of them that rejected it initially. When the Prime Minister decided to reject it himself, it's because he had had more than half of his cabinet members opposing it. And others then fell into line and decided, okay, well, as a consensus on behalf of cabinet, anything that comes out of cabinet has to have a consensus of a majority. And therefore, it was stipulated, as the Prime Minister said in his own words earlier here, that they have a signed agreement in cabinet to keep secrecy. But that does not mean that because they have a signed agreement in cabinet to keep secrecy, they must be secret. They must keep secrecy among themselves that is treacherous and dastardly against the interests of the Belizean people who authorize them the power that they are vested to use. I have more coming on that. Yield back, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for jumping
Mr. Brackett. But
and I would like to apologize.
I want to
apologize for having done so.
I want to show the Belizean people at home and abroad what narrative can do. Here we have a deputy prime minister trying to do damage control by saying that the Belizean people have rejected it also, when it was never presented to the Belizean people.
Hello?
That is what you call damage control. Because they are really in denial. And the proof of that being in denial is if you listen to one of their own ministers, and I will play it. So this is why I always say they tell and what
on themselves.
Government should have a policy from day one when we form how we deal with the cruise ships.
I agree.
And we still have to do it.
We
are saying that, and I've read that we are dealing with hopefully 80% overnight, 20% cruise as the future of this country. If that's the case, then establish the policy. Economically speaking, everybody is aware that you can't have more than one cruise ship in the central area, which is Belize City. It's not economically viable.
True.
So why are we fooling ourselves?
In sense, the discussion between three
exactly
entities, right?
it is economically viability is only for one. So, and why is it only for one? Because it's based on the amount of passengers that you're expecting. Right now we're what, 700, 800? We're at a peak of our million. Yes. One project, from the studies I have seen, could take you up to maybe 1.4, 1.5 million, where the viability now opens up for a second one. So I want to do an agreement. Do one up to 1.5 and then open the doors for another after 1.5. Everybody unhappy. We have to make those decisions. Which one of the three? We have to decide which one is there, which one is the best, which one has invested the money, which one alone talk, which one they deal with immoral and unethical issues, which one is less harmful to our environment, and forget the personalities, take the friend away, take the politics away, and hopefully it's more Belizean than foreign owned. Isn't that the dream? Why are we fooling ourselves? Yes, a document has been prepared, but the complaint was that it should have been a joint document prepared by the two ministries that have interests with that kind of. So you have the Port Authority, which falls under our ministry, And then you have the Ministry of Tourism, that is the umbrella to invite everybody in. And so the request was, instead of having just a policy coming out from one ministry, have the two ministries join together. And the daddy have to the day. Ministry of Finance have to the day. If you don't have the daddy, nothing happens.
Yeah.
I mean, we the fool ourselves in first Ministry of MIDH, Health, Education, Port. None of them ministry work anything.
Yeah.
If the daddy not the home, which the finance.
Finance.
So, you know how MIDH operates? Anything we do, we invite a representative from the daddy ministry. Sit down with us. Be part of the evaluation process. We inform them every single step of the way. So when we present a document from MIDH to Cabinet or to Ministry of Finance or to the Contractor General, we know that finance is aware.
Okay.
And so that is what I believe is necessary.
Okay.
And that's why the other ports, they won't succeed and survive, except Puerto Rico, because the daddy whose baby the whole thing is, as I've said, 100 and odd shows ago, is running the show, and he has control and the ability to suborn free governance powers that is entrusted to him to go and negotiate on behalf of a private entity of which we, the people of Belizean government, have not one share in.
Thank you,
But
Mr.
here he is so
Brackett.
fiercely. Oh, he is so fiercely.
Let me hear you on that. But before
I don't
we
remember.
do,
I am wary. I believe that long time ago, I was asked to do, and I contributed a National Environmental Action Plan revision, which was shelved and left in draft, on a shelf or in draft in Belmopan. I did that as a Belizean for the people and country of Belize. And it was already that cruise tourism, I think there was a Black Swan report that was quoted. We should have had a policy in place. We should have, and I was telling us something, right? Ay. Foolish. Belize, I don't like quote certain people, but this whole tourism matter and this whole reliance on tourism has so impacted this country in a negative way. And people are like fair to that because everybody feel it's a bread and butter. But look at everything with tourism. Energy. You said the blackouts just now. Food security. You see how fish gone from whatever to, used to be poor people food to with nutrition. You see fruits and vegetables. You see the impact and the way it is trespassing literally these people on a public rights of way or exercise of our riparian rights as a Belizean country or national dignity. In short, no one tourist come here and bring sand to the beach, right? The companies are not bringing sand to the beach, right? Then it call for hustle. And it seems to me the one clear way I could say it, whenever they do anything or get involved in any arrangement, the country less worse and worse off, and the people the whole, the dirty end, the kennel end, are the chick stick. And I will say this. I said to one person some time ago with respect to Belize, right? Belize is not a place where we need people who just see Belize as one big hotel room to do business from. We need leaders and we need less dealers in government. And I will say this, because I like use colloquial thing, and who want hear and who want understand. But you have hopscotch, you have checkers, you have chess, but where they hurt this country are the snakes and ladders where they play against with people. And all people, it look like we're people mesmerized, then our Lee hands out. And you know what it brings to mind? I think it was 1957, something in England, right? When one man he was a man who never take no side. He was the one who trying to say, you know what? I see the good in everybody, which we must do, right? For Belize and our country's sake, we have to try find the redeeming qualities in these people. But you know what? You have some people that are just scoundrel. Only then could change themselves. But I will say this, right? That man then, the Jeffries, in a certain context said, when he realized the lack of loyalty and when the thing dropped from his eye and it come into sharp focus, come back to British Honduras. And the one way Belizeans may understand where he gone through and how he feel when he get for his wake up call. He said the way certain people may they behave, I left to feel like one dog with two tails. So the writing is on the wall, you know. But Belize people, Belizean seems to have a glut for punishment. Belize as a country have people who, I don't know. We have to get back to something and say in short, you know what? This is our place for tourists. This is our people's patrimony. We have, not only countries have rights, not only people have rights, countries have rights, and it's a duty of everybody in Belize to defend those rights of Belize as a country. And that's why I use the Commonwealth of Belize, right? The patrimony, that which we're not stakeholders, where they put up something. We the owners and beneficiaries, and we hold this as part of the patrimony. And we know the talk them buzz trays where you hear at a conference. When you talk salt of the earth Belizeans, this is what we hold there too. And we have one standard which has to be world-class standard of excellence, right? We as a people have been playing. Is Belize smoking too much weed? Is Belize drinking too much rum? Is Belizean grooving when there ain't no groove? And I say is in this song singular, but I say plural. Can you take we just like the we ants, right? Instead of the me ants, right? We could do this, we could pull it out. And I'll stop with this, right? Because this one may show me the gall and the whatever, and somebody was alarmed. I had a friend who called back from the States. He said, man, when I was in the airport, certain people were talking loudly. They're not afraid, you know. And he said, Belize is an easy country for a few of us to take over. And I tell my Bali, my compatriot, what you shocked for? What you afraid for? If they could have the gall to say that, then we will live here, we were born here, we were for we blood run through the veins. We were you can't go far without somebody linked by affinity or consanguinity. We will know when you're dead, only 2 copper you need for your ears if your eye can't close. Steve Jobs said on his deathbed, you know, money can't buy your health. That one currency where could be misery if you don't use the wealth for good. As Gandhi said, and he had racism, but he said, the world will always have enough for the needy, but it will never have enough for a few greedy. But what I said to my friend and my compatriot and Bali was, we said at ease, imagine we will live here, grow here, born here. It only take 1 or 2 of we. And one come together that the many for save this country, for pull this country together. So Then people will come with them gal and then challenge. Why are we afraid of them? We can't pull something out of we leaders and say, you know what? Enough is enough, man. We don't need brata when it comes to punishment. This country is a country which has natural wealth untold, but it's not only being squandered, it's being pimped off. And everybody know, well, not everybody, but it was a Methodist from abroad told me his father was a minister. The man come down here and he say he want set up naturist retreat. And I say, why into the environment and I whatever. When I realize that naturist is say I'm not naturalist, that anything where people walk out naked and so on, they Illuminati and then people will reach certain degrees of wealth and understanding and so on. You know, they have the elite enclave. But I was I into nature, no naturist. And I say, you got other part of the world, man, then people in need, you know, their country need, you know, go somewhere else. But no, you left we backward. We have, I was in New Orleans once, you know,
Well,
and I went to a rent on St. Charles Street. And this man just came back from playing tennis. And when he heard I was from Belize with my Creole accent, my Belize Creole accent, I came from that place and it's so backward. And I never blink. And I say it in a good English so I can understand. Oh, thank you. We work very hard to keep it that way. We have quality of life, you know? So I just stop short because these are the things. Then the back spread out of people's mouth. Then they make people, the censor, they take away people's senses. Young people aren't meant to be so mellow that you're not productive, right? There's no sterilization they go on right now that Belize and amongst black people internationally. You are being made to, you need to chill out, right? And anything will come your way. I don't have the words to say it politely, right? I've
thank you.
said that Belize people so inventive, they have find some new bad word, which not necessarily polite, but when one looks back 5 years time, you say, man, this wasn't a renaissance. This was a people doubling down with survivorship. And I tell you know what? Sarcasm no last one, people, you know. And some people in the I don't know, then I'm more friend and company and compadre and so than you think, you know, so sometimes maybe the quarrel out there for public consumption. As Bob Marley said, they're laughing when there ain't no joke. But Belizean say it better, right? We take bad thing, make laugh. We take bad
Thank,
thing, make laugh, and maybe that's our therapy, right? But we
thank you,
have a
Miss.
certain love this country, and we can't give up on our people or our country. They don't bring sand to the beach. What we have here, we have quality of life, and before you squander the commons, leave it for our people. And those
Thank
who
you.
only see money as a common denominator, there are other countries where you
Mr.
can make. Somebody said, you know, Belize as a
Sharon,
country can't
Sharon,
produce billionaires just
Mr.
easily. So there are other places
Sharon,
in the world that welcome
Sharon,
people who don't
Mr.
have the
Chairman,
interest of Belize at heart.
uh-huh. Mr. Chairman wanted to get the floor just now, and I also wanted to make another statement, if you don't mind. And so you have given us about at least a good half a dozen or more very salient, critical, and important points for which we are very grateful, because that is what our program is generally all about: educating our Belizean people and bringing them to the point where they can demand some accountability from this bunch of rascals that we have as our government, as our people in government.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for it.
Mr. Brackett. I
Yes, sir.
want to go back to Ms. Fitz. Ms.
Uh-huh.
Fitz, you mentioned something just now that really came to my attention, and you said it not knowing that I would bring it up tonight. You wanted to know if we in Belize was on a high. Are we smoking or are we taking some drugs? I want to pose that question to the people because of this. I really want to
It
do
was
that.
reckless of the leader of the opposition, and the people that are putting those ads, it's reckless on them because they are not affecting the government, they are affecting Belize. We are nowhere close to being a narco state, and they know it, but they're trying to get some kind of political support. What they're doing is that people are getting turned off by them with that kind of behavior. So I condemn that in the strongest way possible.
I think that's absolutely reckless. It's irresponsible. It's pathetic. There are so many other adjectives that I could use, but it's certainly absolutely disappointing, and I think it reflects very poorly on him. This is our country. Belize is absolutely not a narco state. We know what narco states look like. You have any idea about foreign policy and you have any understanding of national security issues, you would know what a narco state is. We have seen those in Latin America and parts of Central America as well. So Belize is not there, and we absolutely are committed to doing everything we can to ensure that, as we keep saying, that no narco trafficking organization gains a foothold in this country. So I think, I condemn in the strongest possible terms the leader of the opposition.
The gentleman knows his assignment.
All I would want to say.
I want to
Sorry,
say
let me wait.
Oh, man. This I call political blunder. And as I said when I opened the show, we have to listen to the narrative of these people that is in our government. Because it seems to me that when they use these phrases to achieve whatever agenda they want to achieve, it is okay, but it is only when someone else uses the phrase, then it becomes political, making it a political blunder.
Those areas that were cleared along the border are extremely remote. Very few people live there. And what our security forces are finding is non-cooperation and frustration when they go on exercises to these areas, which signals to us that the residents in those areas have been bought over. It is the beginning of the penetration by cartels into Belize. If it is not addressed now, look around the Americas to countries who are attempting to fight the endemic influence of the cartels. I repeat, this is an international fight. For us to eradicate it requires cooperation. Cooperation with our international partners, and I will say specifically, the government of Guatemala.
Mr. Chairman?
No, the question is, why did they not have the conversation with their ex-foreign minister before they did about the leader of the opposition? Mr. Wade, I go to Mr. Wade first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, thank you again, Ms. Spitz, for your input, very educational and to the point. I go lastly to say that on the Portico situation, I'll get back to that clip you played there just now, but let me say this. For me, we mentioned the assignment. And what I would like to see is that they call Mr. Briceño to testify and Mr. Mala to testify and some of his other cabinet members to testify on this hearing, right? That's what I would like to see happen. But will that happen? No, because I think that it's a one-sided thing, right? They want to just blunder the UDP for the crimes they have committed, and I hope if they succeed, they take them to jail. So let's see. Take them to jail. And like I said again, I would like to see some of them go to jail for what they had did to this nation. And on that last clip you play there, last two clips, those two guys, the outgoing foreign minister and that one that just came in, right? They conflict themselves, you know, you say they tell on themselves, right? Let me say this to both of them. From in the 70s, I have been patrolling the southern borders along with the British, right? And those people along that border were very cooperative with us. The Cobaneros, I call them Coban, that comes that along that, they're not Belizean, they are Coban, right? From in the 70s, I could say that. They are the ones that lives along that border that ex-foreign minister talking about. And those people were very, don't speak a word of English, but they were very cooperative. But one thing I can say, now, 2024, they're not being cooperative because of what's going on. And he said it. The Fonseca guy don't want to accept as a narco state, and he bringing out, oh, the leader, Shine Bauer, don't know what is a narco state. Well, maybe not. But, you know, he says that it's not yet. But it's going to be, it's beginning to be a narco state. Right? And he's so true when he says that the people along that border are not being cooperative, right? That is true. And the reason is it's becoming a cartel movements in the south too, border, right? They are infiltrating. You hear the foreign minister said that, and I'm pretty sure that no money may they look for. He said it the truth. He said the truth there, because all they sometimes go about in these meetings to go with their hands out, begging, right? And they do anything and say anything just to get a few dollars from the outside world. But he's right, and he says why the people, they are not cooperating with the security forces. So the cartels are here, Mr. Man. Trust me. Only them know they accept it fully. The Prime Minister got $90 million the other day to fight the cartels in the north. Out of his own mouth. He says that's what he needed that $1 million for, right? So, like you said, Mr. Chairman, they tell on themselves, and the only people who do not see that is their cronies, their PUP cronies and their UDP cronies, because they always tell on themselves, right? And like I say again, fool the talk, fool and a fool listen all the time, right? Go ahead, back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I don't
Thank
take
you,
up much of
Mr.
the time.
Wade. That is simply saying the narrative is alive and living well. Politically, political blunder, they say what they want people to believe, and they will keep doing that.
Exactly.
As you can see, to win
Exactly.
election, every mishap they have, every problem and issue they cannot solve, is the past government. The blame goes to the past government. They are in denial. I now go to you, Mr. Brackett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My comment on the clips that you played specifically, I'll first like to address the clip that you played in regards to our foreign minister and education minister, Mr. Fonseca. It appears to me that he doesn't know his assignment. Because somebody that speaks the way he speaks and says the things that he says, trying to impress people that doesn't know otherwise or know better, could end up easily bamboozling some people, not all the people. Because most people in Belize know that we have been having planes crashing in Belize so far. At least over the last 30 years, we had probably over 100 planes. And I don't think that's an overestimation. And that's only the ones that crash. There are many other planes that came, deliver their goods, or continue forward to where the other final destinations were to deliver their goods. So we're talking about a large amount of movement and activities in relations to the cartel people having connections in Belize among our people, among our government officials, and among our security people, and among the so-called gangs. Because the people that they call gangs in Belize are not the cartels henchmen or operatives, okay? They call gangs the little black boy on south side, and the other little black boys then on north side, and all throughout the country where they fight and shoot up each other over small pittance. They don't call gangs the one who facilitate the plane for land. We provide them with fuel, provide them with the airstrip. We got bulldozers. We cut roads in at the back of the bush for them, make them could land in plane. You know, there are a lot of things going on, and provide them with light when they land at night. They got like runways basically set up for these people. They don't only back white I believe city there when they so-called gang boys they deal with that kind of operations there. So I'm really, really sorry to hear our now new foreign minister talk the way he talk and say the things the way they say, like he don't really know better or don't know otherwise. I mean, he's been living in Belize as long as, you know, I mean, he spent his whole life, almost his whole life in Belize. So how come he don't know where they go on Belize? Is Belize supposed to be any more successful than Guatemala or El Salvador or Honduras or Nicaragua or Panama or Colombia or Venezuela or any of the other southern countries then? Or as a matter of fact, is Belize supposed to be able to be any more effective in dealing with the narcos them than the government of Mexico? And I would dare to say even the government of the United States itself, because this is where the drugs then get used. If the government of the United States were to be effective, or Belize should be as effective as the government of the United States, then the people in this country would have a harder time to be able to acquire the drugs that they want and that they use and that they demand and that they pay for. And I know small people like street people or you say the regular homeless people that they want to import the drugs then because they don't want no planes, trains, buses, cars, or other means of transportation, or they don't even have the money to put them to buy them drugs or to acquire them and bring them. Yes, they are probably some of the last end recipients and sellers of the stuff. And the stuff when they sell, they're not even the stuff where really come in where good. Then buy one, leave it when they could come up with any money and then spike it with all kind of other things to try and make it bigger so that they could make one the extra profit. So even here in the United States, they're not able to successfully stamp out the drug trade and drug dealing and drug using. How the hell can anybody demand of these that we succeed and become any better than any of these other massive, big industrial powers and economic powers, military powers, and every other thing that you could ascribe to it, when we are not in that situation? But these fools, instead of own up to the fact, like, okay, in this case, Mr. Foreign Minister passed Eamon Courtney when he's saying that we can only fight that fight with help from abroad. But help from abroad, we can get to fight that fight and be any more successful than we neighbors them. So he's double talking too. So he knows what's going on, but at least he's a bit more fair-minded and honest in his assessment and his statement, even when he's conflating. Because where we really need an SOE is up north, where the real killing they go on. And if we stop it from coming into free part of the country and cause more mayhem in a free country. But we can't stop it. Because a lot of we own people in high places are involved. We have had some of them arrested and hauled off to jail abroad before. The bottom line is that nobody should be pointing any finger at Belize and Belizeans for not being as successful as other countries, because we do not have the resource, and we are being targeted by people who have resource that suborn massive major countries and could easily suborn and have suborn some of you one leaders them in our country. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. Mr. I go to
Okay.
you. But
I
before
want
you,
to. Sorry, go ahead.
before you answer to what was said, I would like to, in a short bit, pay the tribute that is rightfully belongs to Mr. Philip Golson's wife, who has passed away just shortly. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr.
Thank you. As Belizeans, those who know what the sacrifice and lifelong commitment was of our national hero and statesman Philip Golson, we note with condolences and prayers to her survivors the passing of Mrs. Haydee Golson, née Jones. It reached my ears, and I managed to speak briefly with her son Adrian tonight. Incidentally, at National Heroes and Benefactors Day that week, I happened to give in, and I went on a show to pay tribute to Honorable Golson, and Adrian was there, so that was a delight. And I happened to mention his mother, but before I go into it, what he indicated to shared is that his mother was, Miss Haydee was still pretty alert. She was in Cayo in residence, and she got a sudden malady came down on her, and she was taken to the hospital in Belmopan, and I think she struggled for about 3 days. She will be laid to rest in Belmopan on the 29th of May at 10 a.m. at Lady of Guadalupe Church. That's on a Wednesday. Miss Haydee is survived by her sons, Philip Jr. She was predeceased by Dale some 8 years ago. And then she has daughters, Anne Margaret and Karen Ann, and as well the son, Adrian Golson, surviving her. Miss Haydee was born to her mother, Carrie Stephanie Jones, in Belize City. What is remarkable, and I want to say this as a Belizean and a colleague and as a female, is that Miss Haydee was a trailblazer in her own right. Back in the days when few people could be lawyers are called to the bar in British Honduras. We usually had expatriates, then you had some early ones, but I would have remembered hearing of lawyers like Phillips and Dragton and something and so on. And then, of course, we had time with Mr. Ewart Francis. I had the Elder Courtney, and we had, some others. But basically, what her son shared that day was that he thanked me for mentioning his mother with respect to that. His father supported her in going to read for law, and she was successful in London, and she was called to the bar. She came back to British Honduras. What Adrian shared was that back in the days, the barristers would take their wives to the cocktail parties. In Miss Hady's case, she took her husband, Mr. Philip, right? And he was quite a proud man. It was such that they had to make special ladies' room or bathroom because it was really that she broke the ranks, and she was the first female attorney ever, advocate barrister for the country of Belize. One other thing I want to sorry. Yes, sir.
British
Yes, sir.
Honduras at the time.
British Honduras at the time, yes. So that shows it goes way back, right? Because the country's name changed 73. One of the other things I want to share, and this is with dignity and respect and pride. There was a time when, and we know mothers, they just went, and there was a crossroads for Miss Hady. Apparently there was a fire, Mr. Golson's home on Barracks Road next to where the Billboard newspaper was put to flames by arsonists. He did no wrong, but he was defending his country. His son shared that his father was out district that day and was all set with plans to stay the night. But for some reason, and I believe Providence, he said, let me come back into my home in Belize City. And so there was this fire, and the oral history is that one of the children all came out alive, thank God. But there was one who somebody at some point said, you know what, we have to check and go back in. And it said that it was a baby. But all in all, Miss Hady made her sacrifices. And I commented and I saw I was on the air by way of intuition. She had to protect in order for Mr. Golson to persevere. And then there's that other part of the history and so on. But that was a sacrifice. And I had to make a public apology to Adrian on behalf of the people and country of Belize as a Belizean for the sacrifice of those children and his family, as Mr. Golson, due to his love for the country, sacrificed for Belize. So, for Miss Hady Golson, Nate Jones, to her family, the country of Belize, those who shared her residence in Cayo, and to all her children, may she walk good and find her angel wings. And we are grateful as a nation for your sacrifice and contribution. You stood tall and you walked the walk for the rest of us attorneys. Lois Youngbarrow, who became the first to be conferred with senior counsel after Queen's Counsel was changed, and all the others who have walked in your footsteps, including myself. So farewell, Miss Hady, and may prayers and comfort abide with her children and family.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Well said.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Brackett.
I'd like to add a little extra piece to what Ms. Pitcher just said in regards to Ms. Hady.
Go ahead, sir.
First of all, without Ms. Hady, we would not have had a Mr. Golson, because as Sharon stipulated in her commentary, she was the person that had to protect and look out for the well-being of the family in the absence of Mr. Golson, running around from place to place campaigning. I can recall, as regards to the same fire that Sharon mentioned earlier, I was the person who rewired the Wilson residents after that fire in order for them to gain access to that place and make use of it until they were able to go and live at a hotel on Albert Street, or we'd call it more like a boarding house because it was an emergency situation at that time. And Miss Haiti was also a part of our, when we created, before we created the UDP, we had two other entities. We had the working team. She was not a part of the working team initially, but then she was part of the Unity Congress of British Honduras that preceded the UDP. So we had the Unity team, which is what came out of the survey that I had done to get back Mr. Dean Lindo and the PDM to join up back with the NIP and the Liberal, and then eventually created out of that working team with half of UBAD. By the way, we had also recruited half of UBAD into our efforts. And then we went on to create the Unity Congress of British Honduras. That Unity Congress of British Honduras was empowered and empaneled to have discussions with the British in regards
Excuse me 1 minute, please, Mr. Brackett.
Independence of Belize. And
Mr. Brackett
was one of those persons. Yes.
I just want to share this picture. I couldn't get it a different way, so please bear with me.
I yield, Sharon. Go ahead.
Sorry about that, but this is a picture from.
Bring it back across a little bit more and up.
1 minute, the light came on. Let me fix this. Is that all right?
We're watching it, we're seeing it, but I'm trying to direct it so that it can show. Carry it up a little bit. Right there, and cross. A little bit cross. Right there. Stop. No, a little bit more. Okay, right there. That's it.
Okay.
That's it right there.
Sorry. This is a picture from a calendar, and my aunt Ellen Wade kept this picture in her lifetime. She was one of Mr. Golson's.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Okay, thank you very much, Sharon.
Yes.
Further
so
again,
nice.
as regards to Miss
Thank
Haiti
you.
Golson,
Thank
just
you.
a minute. As regards to Miss Haiti Golson, she was part of the committee that met the English. I forget what is his name. But anyhow, there was a gentleman that came to Belize and spoke with Mr. Price and spoke with the Unity Congress of British Honduras at the time. And then that gentleman was the person that we had to negotiate with in terms of whether or not we was going to allow Mr. Price to get the independence under his leadership. I've made reference to that quite a few times on our shows. And on this particular occasion, and like I said, I have pictures and documents and newspaper clippings and everything of all those meetings that were had during that time. And I put them on the internet before, and I'll at some point in time put them back up. But Ms. Haiti Golson was one of those members of that group of people that went and met that gentleman. Without her being involved and the rest of other people that were involved, Mr. Lindo, Mr. Lawyer Hazak, and all those great patriots of those days, there would not have been what we end up calling a Faustian bargain with Mr. Price. And he would not have been able to have got independence probably during his lifetime because we were not about to see that. And the reason why he was able to get independence is because he decided to have the independence under him within the Commonwealth as we were demanding as our Faustian chip. So she played an effective part. And after that, I also met her in New York when Mr. Golson and Mr. Esquivel and Mr. Harry Lawrence and a whole other group of dignitaries during the Esquivel first government. I also met her in New York. When they came to the mayor's office, and I was involved with some activities on behalf of the mayor of New York, trying to get them some money from the federal government, and I was invited to that meeting in the mayor's office and spoke to them as well. So she has been there for decades and decades, in and out, and has performed and done our country good. And for that, I'd like to say
thank you
to the family, please accept my humble expression of gratitude for her service to our country, as well as my sympathy and my condolence on her passing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome, sir.
Mr. Wade, I go to you before I go back to Ms. Stick. I need to go back to her so that she can finish her task and Belize as a narco state and what was it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Leonard, for such a warm, introduction there, because I just got educated. Thank you, Ms. Spitz, for educating me. Right? I didn't know we had such a, intelligent people back then. Way back then. I mean, first barrister, right? You said first barrister to British Honduras at the time.
Female.
Female barrister. I didn't know that, right? But, to the family, may her beautiful soul rest in peace. And my condolences to the family. And I think that people like, who had showed who had served this country then in such a way, they should have a day, right? They should make a day for these people, right? Who had served this country like that, right? Should never be forgotten, right? Never. They had a hard problem in making a statue for Mr. Golson, right? Big political controversy, right? Man, that's just to show you where we at in this country.
And Mr. Wade, they knock over the man thing what they make for her, the bus.
Yes.
They knock it over a little while ago. Remember,
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes,
The roundabout. Somebody's driving it.
It's so
Call it
sad.
a coincidence.
How
Yes.
I just say this off my chest, right? It's so sad how they, patriot Mr. George K. Price, may he rest in peace, right? I will say this of my umpteen years on the face of this earth, living as a Belizean in this country, right? Yes, the man was a good man, but he was an evil person too, in my book. Had done a lot of evil and bad things to some people that was not with him. They had to flee this country, right? Man, no could do anything, no say anything about me, because I know a lot of things too, right? But you see what the baby they had and all that, just to honor Mr. Philip Golson, right? That's to show you. I believe that's to show you the level of leadership we have, and the level of politician, and the level of hypocrisy in this country, right? Where good people, honorable people are being forgotten, when the criminals and the gangs and all them, they are the ones that are criminals in government. I'm talking past UDP and PUP. I can't name it. I'm going to say that criminals who are leaders in this country, right?
Leaders or leeches?
Leeches and leaders.
Oh, sorry.
Right?
Sorry.
But I'm saying this to say that,
funny.
I'm just saying this to say that it hurts me as a patriotic Belizean, and who had served this country too, to see the level of where we at and the hypocrisy, right? And I call it like this, like, black people, once you're black in this country, how I see it, you have been looked down, and not every migrants to come in this country foreigners they come in and they look down for the poor black people in this country here, treat them like crap. When will it stop? Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. But let's not forget what was done to our first female governor also, who was only given her roses
Mr. Chairman?
when she had passed. Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman, let's add 10 more minutes, sir.
That is fine with me, sir.
Okay, good.
As I was saying, I could never
Actually,
forget what
I believe
was
the
done to
country
her.
of Belize gave, and I think it was a European government then, Prime Minister Esquivel made sure that the Minita Garden got a house and rather a home with security guard in Newtown Barracks area, apart from whatever else she got, no? But I believe as a people, you know, we can always remember to honor our people. We don't put people out of pasture, right? And we give them the respect that they garner and command and for their service to country, right? But
Sharon?
Belize people have a way of
sorry.
making their own determination with that.
Sharon?
Exactly. That's
What was
Yes, sir.
accorded? What was accorded to Mr. Young by the PUP
I don't know.
government?
I really don't know.
No, I'm being facetious, right? When I ask that
Oh, I
question,
see.
in the context of how the UDP related to Miss Minita Garden. I'm just trying to show, you know,
I
how
see.
these people look at their opponents or their detractors and how they relate to them. The UDP never related to Miss Minita the way the PUP related to Mr. Young. In fact, at the time when Mr. Young was about to demit office, they sent in this scoundrel, Stuart Leslie, to go and sign with the man's power that had not been transferred yet to the new Governor General, Mr. Lam, to go and sign a bogus stuff so that he could take the blame, and the blame don't go on the other two main Governor General.
Oh my.
That's how dastardly these people are. And they pulled that off, and they felt like nobody would have understood or figured out what was done, and that would have been just a part of history swept under the carpet. But they forget to remember that we are not in the same old political mode. We are in a different political dispensation, and they will be hanged around their neck with the constitution of our country for all the criminal and dastardly things that they do. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. I jumped the gun without being offered the opportunity.
I got you.
I just wanted to add what Sharon was saying, you know?
Finish your thought.
Okay, with respect to the matter of Belize, I believe that we have to always have a national resolve, and our ideal must be our descript for our country. So I would offer that Belize is people's patrimony, our children's inheritance, quality of life. Why I say that is, I know they miss the point. Where is our national stance and resolve when it comes to this? Doesn't it start from the beginning? When you had that weed in the school, right? They were saying weed coated candy. No, no, no. There were drugs described as candy, as cereal. The worst kind of thing you could do, that like bead and coral snake, as I described to school children.
There were different
They
colors.
look for strike them. Yes, like they have some cereal where latter color. And then the other one, right? Like the Rice Krispies looks, and then one way latter color, all the bright colors. Now, you gentlemen mentioned matters of commission of inquiry. I was bold enough and indignant enough and serious enough to say we should have a commission of inquiry on the matter of those drugs in the school. And it looked like people never take me seriously. Where is their stance? Where is their resolve? If you don't protect the children in school against drugs, if you never gone and said it's cancer, we may head that off, that never may take hold. You see, it's a matter of how you portray. And if you not protect the children there, right? What you have then is a laissez-faire, don't care attitude, and one drug culture is seeping, one weed culture is seeping. And if you start with that at school and it get weather like you, the light one fire. Yes, Mr. Brackett?
They were trying to legalize the marijuana, remember?
Yes.
Remember the Minister of Police, what he was talking about?
Mr. Brackett, me don't understand the difference.
And the man,
then
and then the man gonna tell you that we country they're not drug
cartel state.
Cartel state.
I said that one of the constitutional thing at Swift Hall, and it come out intuitively. I said Belize is a people's paradise. It's not a drugocracy, because we have to define ourselves, and we have to make sure when anything red and ugly head. But if they have that planted in school. When I say planted, I mean metaphorically. If that could get in your school, behind wardens and so. But you see, it's the inner Belize City School. You remember one time Orange Walk and Rambaton? We have to say we protect our children. Then are the parents complicit? This is the one we have to call out. And you know how bad it is? Somebody responsible reported to me that a 6-year-old little girl was at a Chinese shop. They asked Chinese lady, sell me one piece of photo paper. Then I will say this. I will say this. A couple weeks ago, I was at a funeral. And right outside the church step, actually on the step, by the back door. Right? They walk through the back door to try to catch somebody and curve wrong. Before I could get off at the building itself, I smell weed. Me think they come from the street. And I had to tell the young man, this that church. Somebody tell me left alone because you know you're supposed to afraid not to tell people anything. I said, no, this a church premise. Not do that, yeah. Not the smoke weed, yeah. Then I look, little girls, they sit down on the step, elder people, and they look like I that may want, what you call it when you're out of tune, a bad radio station piping. But there are certain things we have to be definite about. I was walking away, then I swing back. The young man between 18 and maybe 20. I mean, I'm not a huggy person, but I gave him a little hug. I said, you know what? This is a church, man, school over there. But do we care enough to scold and chide our children? Do we care enough not to be indifferent? When it happened on our school grounds, right? They're not under the Minister of Education. The children are not a paramount concern. How it is that you could get weed easier in a school than you could get one glass of warm milk or milk powder or 7 seeds called liver oil or medicine or banana porridge. How is it that wasn't, we never signal? And I tell you what,
Mr. Chairman?
San Pedro, too, one time I do a case, and one of the parents, they said they're afraid for the picnic, couldn't believe that if they catch bus, figure up not. And the magistrate said, stop it. We have a social crisis out here. In the back of the schoolroom, the primary school room, we've had incidences of children smoking weed. And the teachers sometimes afraid because the parents and sometimes the other time they go to school. But you see, we have poor areas where curtain that's still partition, right? But some people have mansion and sea breeze to blow where the weed in or whatever direction they want. We cannot be fooling around with this. Can't we take a holiday from the weed? Make we have one moratorium, 1 week without weed, and sit down and talk to the people about fixing this country and bringing it back. Hold it on for the children and say, you know what? Who like weed? Stay one side, but not give on a picnic, man. Not smoke it. And the pregnant mothers. The pregnant mothers. So the psychotropic drug the children and they go get hooked and weeded out of society.
We have to
couldn't happen better than if I'm by plan. This wasn't by accident. Sorry, sir. Apologies.
That's all right. That's all right. We're just trying to
If I may, Mr.
because the
to
time is
say
gone.
this, as you were rightfully saying, I want to ask a question, not to the people at home and abroad or to you guys sitting with me virtually. I want to just put it out there. How much of a policeman or Coast Guard or people
Mr. Chairman,
in our government
take it up for the next
is
session,
going
sir,
to
because
their work
we are
or
beyond our
job
point
site
now.
when they had just finished smoke?
Yes,
That
but we
is
are
what I
beyond
want
the
to
extra 10
do.
minutes that we allotted just now, and
Right.
you know we can't proceed any further. So
That is what
I'd
I
say we
want to
could take that up for
proceed.
next session.
Right.
Could you play us out? Could you play out the?
Mr. Wade, I go to you for the closing, sir.
Thank you.
We
Thank
don't
you.
have
It's
time.
always a
Mr.
pleasure
Chairman.
to be with
Mr.
you
Chairman,
and
we are out of time,
people at
sir.
home and
That's why I'm
abroad.
insisting.
Want to say
just a
it's
short
a pleasure.
closing, Mr.
Say
Brackett.
good night.
Yes,
Tune
but
in to us
we
on
don't have the
Wednesday.
time. We used it up already.
Okay,
Tune
good
in to
night
us on
and thank
Wednesday.
you to everyone who tuned in.
Thank you very much. Thank you.